Birdland Tonight is your place for Orioles post-game coverage for fans, by fans. All of the hosts on Birdland Tonight are Oriole fans that are either writing blogs or doing podcasts about Orioles. Head on over to birdlandtonight.com to learn more about the hosts and other shows and websites that they're a part of. And head on over to Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, and subscribe, follow, or like, whatever the appropriate thing is, to Birdland Sports. Finally, share, retweet, and tell your friends about Birdland Tonight so that we're all joined into the conversation after every Orioles game this year. We'll see you guys in just a couple minutes. Head on over to the comment sections on Facebook and Twitch and YouTube to start interacting now. We'll see you soon. Did you know Birdland Tonight is also a podcast? Head on over to your favorite podcast app and subscribe to Birdland Tonight to get the audio of this show every morning ready for your commute. Thanks for joining us. We will get started in just 1 minute. Make sure that you have subscribed to us on your favorite social media. Look up Birdland Sports on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. Like, follow, retweet, share. See you in a moment.
Seven, six, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey everyone, welcome to Birdland Tonight, the official interactive Orioles postgame show. And how you doing, Joe? Tough loss.
I'm doing good, Mike. Tough loss by those, but you know what? They got tomorrow. Tomorrow's a new game. Let's just focus on that.
Yeah, I mean there were definitely some positives to take from this game, but unfortunately, just didn't end the way we wanted. With Valdez blowing the save there in the ninth inning, and then Tate throwing the pass ball and then walking a couple guys, giving up a hit. Just didn't go as planned, but definitely an exciting game.
Yeah, absolutely. The best moment I think of all was seeing Trey go yard, and then Santana the next at bat go yard, and that was just great seeing Trey get back into his groove of things, and his first home run back since obviously overcoming colon cancer.
Yeah, and that was just such a great moment. Mancini hit the home run, as you said, with a wonderful approach on an inside pitch, taking it opposite field, hitting it like 111, 112 miles an hour. And then Santander giving him a hug right afterwards, with this incredible moment, as you said, overcoming colon cancer. And then literally 20 seconds later, Santander hits the ball in the right field. And, I was going crazy, and so were the fans then. It was just great to feel that energy in Oriole Park, even though we didn't come away with the win.
Yeah, being at opening day myself on Thursday, seeing the standing ovation Mancini got during the pregame ceremonies and then before his first at bat, it was just like really amazing to see someone how, yeah, we're rivals with the Red Sox on the field, but off the field, it's like we're community, and just seeing everyone support him because cancer is not easy to overcome whatsoever. So just seeing him fight and fight and fight, and to be able to play baseball still and then hit a home run, what else can you ask for?
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. Like, as he's saying, it feels like he never left, and it really doesn't look like he's left. I mean, his performance overall in the season hasn't been amazing, but he hasn't looked bad. And then, yeah, that at bat today, he looked amazing as he hit the home run. And he hit that shot down the line when the bases were loaded. I was hoping he would hit a grand slam there. And at the time, I was like, oh, well, we're still winning, and I bet we're going to win because we have all this momentum. But unfortunately, we actually really could have used that hit to give us some insurance runs.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, ninth inning came, we gave up that run, and then Dylan Tate comes in the 10th and gives up another run, and I think it was LeBlanc that gave up the other run too, which gave him up 2 runs, 5-3. So, sometimes those late game situations are what really can turn the game around, and the O's just got to work on that come tomorrow and the rest of the season.
Yeah, and as we were talking about, before the show, we had a little bit of a conversation. That whole rundown situation in the top of the first inning, right, where Cisco picks the guy off, actually makes an amazing throw to Mancini, picks the guy off, and then they get into a rundown. And, it's really – watching on TV, it's like really exciting. Like, oh, they got this guy in a rundown. They picked him off. Like, this is great. But then I think it was Bogarts actually ends up scoring on the play all the way from second base. So as good of a job as Cisco did on that play, he really should have been communicating to the team, Bogarts is coming home. Throw it to me like right now. And it's just amazing how sometimes those basic things can be missed by even major leaguers.
Yeah, sometimes communication with teammates is obviously huge, and that was just a mishap they had. Things happened. Unfortunately, that was one of the things that went wrong on our side. I guess it's just communication it's like outfielders. When you see them, there's a fly out. They all like signal to each other like, hey, we have 2 outs or 1 out. But like the catcher being the one of the most important positions, she probably could have done a better job. But also at the same time, you also got to take and factor into the first and second baseman communicating with each other. Hey, we also got to remember there's a guy on third that can score. So communication is just so key in everything. Me working in sports, seeing that in basketball, and it relates to every sport, and especially baseball. You got to be communicating. But it happens. They just got to move on and focus on the next at bat, next pitch.
Yeah. And yeah, definitely communication is always key in any situation. It kind of shows why sports, sometimes reflect on life. But yeah, we got a couple of comments coming in here. AJ saying we might be drafting ahead of the Red Sox, saying we probably are worse than them, which, the projection showed, and we've kind of showed these last 2 games, maybe we're not a team that will continually sweep the Red Sox. And then Robbie saying, things could get missed by major leaguers, like how many outs? So, yeah, I mean, we have lost to the Red Sox twice, but it's not like they've looked amazing. I mean, they almost messed up, like you were just saying, communicating in the outfield. They had that triangle play with Marwin Gonzalez, Bogarts, and I believe Devers was the other player in there, and they all almost collided and somehow made that catch. And then again, Devers, didn't make the tag on that stolen base and thought there were 3 outs and just tried to walk off the field. So, yeah, communication again in those situations.
Man, I thought that ball was going to drop. I was like, oh, we're going to get an infield hit. And I'm like, nope, not. Looks like we're not. But, it's just it feels like it's that Orioles luck that just can't get past sometimes. It's frustrating. But like I said, moving on, next at bat, next guy. I don't know. I guess I'm just like a more of a realistic, hey, things happen and they just gotta move on. That's all they gotta do.
Yeah, and hopefully they can salvage the series, or at least one win in the series tomorrow with Jorge Lopez on the mound. So we'll see what happens there. But
I think this Bruce Zimmerman did a really good job. I know he gave up 3 runs, but to give up 2 in the first inning, starting off, 2 runs, and then we come back, scored 2 in the first, and then he went 4 or 5 innings where he just was phenomenal. Even though he got a lot of flyouts, he didn't give up any runs. So he actually played a really good game, in my opinion. And also, fun fact, he actually went to my church, and he actually lives in the same city as I do. So pretty cool knowing a major leaguer that lives in the same city. And Paul Blair, but unfortunately, right before he passed, he lived in the same city as I do right now.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, did you see him at church growing up?
Yeah, I saw him in church a handful of times. I never had an interaction with him, but hopefully maybe I'll reach out to him through either Twitter or Instagram saying, hey, I went to church with you. I was I worked the church, and maybe he'll say, hey, I'd love to join Birdland tonight. Maybe we can get him on as a guest. That'd be pretty cool.
That would be fantastic. And yeah, I think his story is just so great, and sort of inspiring as someone who grew up playing in Maryland as an Orioles fan. And yeah, just seeing all the pictures that Masson showed of him growing up, going to Camden Yards, like all of us fans, was just really cool. And like you said, I thought he performed well. He had 3 earned runs charged to him, but it really should have just been 2 earned runs because that whole rundown play we were just talking about. And he only had 1 walk, and he also only had 1 walk in his last start against the Red Sox. So honestly, for our young starting staff, that's what I like to see, is not walking too many batters and, just really having control and location with their fastball and their other secondary pitches.
You remember what Gary Thorne said at the end of the 2019 season about us just being patient?
Yeah,
that's it. It relates to right now too, and it's just we just gotta be patient and know they're young, with Mountcastle, McKenna, all these guys that are really young. It's just patience with them. Think of it as like a little kid. It just takes time for them to develop and learn new skills and to expertise their craft. So just patience.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, there are some great signs from Zimmerman just in his stuff too. I was doing some research on Baseball Savant, and his changeup, he got Vasquez with it one time. I think Dahlbeck another time. It's a really impressive pitch just by the eye, but when you do the research, it also adds up because it has 4 inches more of movement compared to the average major league pitcher. And I thought it was interesting how, although he only throws 91 miles per hour, his fastball really seemed to play up. And I think it has a lot to do with the movement on that changeup because the hitters are constantly, peeking around, waiting for it to come. And then all of a sudden, that 91 looks a lot faster when it's not dropping compared to the changeup that's a bit slower and drops a lot.
Yeah, Zimmerman, being one of the few lefties, I think starting, if I'm not mistaken, he's he's got a lot of potential. I really do believe that, seeing a guy coming in with his hometown team, He's probably got a lot of nerves because this is his first home game, like underneath with fans.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he had family and friends in attendance.
Yeah, definitely.
And just that's nervous already. And for him to give up 2 runs, but then keep that composure and go a couple innings with no runs, I'm not going to lie, Mike, that was pretty impressive.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And yeah, I think there are just so many great signs about Zimmerman. And it's definitely interesting how he really wasn't a big prospect. I mean, he was always on the top 30 list, but he was never like a Grayson Rodriguez or DL Hall, who you always heard about. We always knew he was lurking there, but yeah, he's really done a great job and showed a lot of composure, as you said. And I think the lack of walks so far this season really shows, that he has the nerves to deal with this pressure. And yeah, on the other side, Garrett Richards, he definitely looked very beatable in his first start against us when we scored 6 runs on him specifically and then 10 in the game. But yeah, he looked rather hittable today. I think we just had a little bit of trouble, really stringing a few hits together. But, AJ's in here with another comment, making a good point about how Cedric Mullins took a long time to develop, and look at him now. But, Hayes is unfortunately hurt again. The fact that Mullins going, I think, 2 for 4, I know he had 2 hits today, isn't even a big story, just shows how well he's been performing this year.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with Cedric. I think he's doing phenomenal. He's just one of the things, like, still developing his arm. Obviously, he doesn't have one of the strongest arms, but man, is he just really impressive right now. He's probably one of the best Orioles on the team right now. I think he's on a hot streak. Because he just extended his hit streak today with his second at bat, and that's just impressive from last season.
Yeah,
Man,
no, I definitely, I will say about the arm, there was definitely one play today. I forget who was running for the Red Sox, where I thought if Hayes was out there, he maybe could have thrown the guy out at home. But other than that, I mean, he really has all the tools, definitely the speed. He has some surprising pop. I mean, he had a double today, mostly just because he's so quick. But yeah, he really has, all the skills to be a fantastic leadoff hitter for now and for the future. And I'm definitely really excited to see how he's doing.
Masson put up a really good statistic today saying how he covers 28 feet per second, which is most on the team when he's running. Yeah. I was like, wow. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and that's definitely up there in terms of the league too. I think Trey Turner is, always the fastest guy, and he's usually around 30 feet per second at his absolute peak. So yeah, doing that out in center field is just so impactful for our defense. And another guy who is really, running around and making some plays on defense today is yet again Rio Ruiz. Maybe not the best offensively this year, but has actually done a fantastic job at second base. The one play where he was running back and caught it backwards was a 470 expected batting average. So there was half a chance that was going to fall in to be a hit. But then the other play where he went into the hole and took it in front of Galvis and threw the guy out, I think it was a Bogarts hit, was an 870 expected batting average. So yeah, he's really, helping out our pitchers.
Yeah, I like Rio. I think he's doing a really good job right now, playing really good defensively. Can improve batting. I know I think his batting average is right below 200. But you know what? Like I said, just patience. I'm a big patience guy, just trying to build on that. So if you couldn't get that from the show, just trying to say patience. But you know what? I remember going in here into the season being like, you know what? I know it's the Orioles. I know what Fangraph said. But you know what? I believe if you go into something negative, a negative result's going to happen. If you go into something positive, there's a good chance something positive will happen. So, I mean, I also want to, but now get into a different point. When you're talking about arms, look at DJ Stewart when he had that one really good relay. And then, who was it? Galvis that cut it off and threw it to Cisco, and Cisco just did a great job blocking the plate. That was impressive.
That was a fantastic play. And those are the plays that I really love, like when Santander threw the guy out at home against the Yankees to end the game. I love those relay throws. I think they're honestly, they might be the most thrilling part of the game for me. And yeah, I thought he did a good job defensively on that play. He had that really clutch double in the bottom of the 8th where we ended up taking the lead. And yeah, I definitely think he's been doing a great job. And yeah, I thought it was interesting that he made his first start and his name is DJ, but JD Martinez was out on the other side, which is like the inverse of his initials, which definitely, impacted the Red Sox offense, but they were still able to score enough runs. But yeah,
DJ,
that's another guy who you have to preach patience with. He came up in 2018, and now last year and this year, we're finally seeing, oh, maybe he has some talent.
I like DJ Story. I think he's got a lot of potential. I remember seeing him in a game in Bowie, I want to like a few years back. And I just, seeing him play, I was like, wow, this guy could be good for the Orioles years to come. And look at him now.
Yeah.
You heard the story about this morning, I think it was this morning, where he was supposed to be driving to Bowie with his wife, and he made like a wrong turn. She's like, "Where are you going?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I meant to tell you, I'm activated right now." And she was like so happy. I was like, "That's so cool."
Yeah, I can't even imagine how that must feel like, knowing that you're not only gonna be in the minor leagues, but not even be playing in games where people can watch you at the alternate site, versus going to Baltimore and playing in a super important game with 10,000 fans for the first time in 2 years. Yeah, that must have just been an amazing feeling.
AL East is not an easy division. I can tell you that right now.
Definitely not. Definitely not. And another guy who, going back to your theme of patience, who I think we've needed to have a lot of patience with, is Tanner Scott. He has developed nicely. He's been around for a while. I remember watching him in the Futures game for the first time. But yeah, I mean, he looked great tonight, and I think he's developed very well.
Yeah, he's one of the pitchers that we've had for a while, for a few years, And first of all, I think AJ's really bringing up some really good comments, and I think that he makes a lot of really good points. And Tanner Scott, his first game of the year, I'm almost certain was opening day, and I remember I got a little nervous that opening day game when we were at the Red Sox, like the actual MLB opening day, and I think he's probably one of the better bullpen pitchers we have. Obviously, Dylan Tate today really struggled. Cesar Valdez struggled, obviously blowing a save. And, I think bullpen's going to be something that's going to be talked about throughout our show for a while, we needing a lot of improvements. But, just like you said, working with the pitching coach on figuring out, whether scouting, seeing where guys are hot and cold, working on the pitch breaks and all that. So I just think right now, if I'm Dylan Tate right now, I'm just trying to take a deep breath and just say, you know what? Yeah, I played bad, but you know what? Next game, and I know I've been dwelling on next game this whole post game show, but it's just I just seen it, and I guess it's just seeing people and how it can really affect you, relaying it into so many different situations, but especially sports. Like so many people will dwell on the last play and it affects the next couple plays. And that next couple plays are so important. Every play is so important. Every pitch, every at bat, it's just so important. And when I watch MLB games, I'm like, I used to think, one game, it's all good. Now it's like every game matters. But sometimes you can't. If a good clubhouse will not blame it on one person, they'll back him up and say, hey man, just next game and next play, and then because that's the kind of environment I think the O's can really have, is just saying, you know what, it's a game, we're young, we'll get through this.
Yeah, and definitely the blame is not on him tonight. I mean, I think we should have scored more runs. Like I said, unfortunately, Mancini grounded out when the bases were loaded. Again, that rundown play in the first inning, that was the whole team's fault. I blamed it on Cisco a little bit, but really anyone could have been screaming out, Bogarts is running. Like, let's prioritize getting the lead runner out and not letting them score. Tate would have never even come into game. And as you said, Valdez blowing the lead in the ninth inning. There were a lot of factors that really led to this loss. But that's the beauty of baseball is, just go out again tomorrow and hopefully we can win.
Yeah, I'm hoping we can win because right now we're 4-4. We're 1-4 in our last 5 games. Hopefully we don't go 1-5. Just staying above 500 would be great. Going 5-4, but right now sitting at 4-4. What are we, like second in the division, third, something like that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure tied for second. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I would have taken 4-4 if you would have told me we could be that before the season started. So, there have definitely been some positives to take away. And of course, always in the player development, there's always positives to be taken away. With the kind of analytics we have in our GM or in our scouting department and our player development department. Yeah, I think there's just a lot of positives to be taken.
Yeah, a lot of positives. Let's just build on them, and if there's mistakes, just learn from them.
Yeah, and here's AJ again with another good point. Tyler Wells looks good, who is one of our Rule 5 draft picks this year, and it makes losing Zach Pop, who was unfortunately taken from us by the Marlins with one of their Rule 5 picks this year. It makes it a little easier losing him by seeing Tyler Wells pitch well, which I definitely agree with. But also, Max Scaroller has looked really great. And if you look at the advanced stats, Mike Petriello wrote an early article a couple of days ago on through the first week which underrated relievers have really looked good through the beginning of the season, just throughout the whole MLB. And Max Scaroller was one of the names on that list. And he's Ben McDonald's nephew. I don't know if you knew that.
I did not. You learn something every day.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of promise there with a lot of our young arms, as we were talking about. But also jumping back to Tanner Scott, would you want him to be the closer over Valdez? Or is there another name who you would rather have in there?
Be honest with you, Mike, I keep Valdez right now. At least give him maybe a week or two. See, maybe a week. I'd probably do a week. Be safe. If I put it, but I would put Scott in there. Definitely, it's my second choice. But I don't think we should pull Valdez and just pull the plug on him real quick. Give him, because I think that's going to hurt his morale. And the last thing you want is just hurt someone's morale early in the season, because it just kind of gives off a negative look, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And I mean, for all he's been through, he had to play in kind of random leagues in Latin America. I'm not trying to diss those leagues, but they're not like the similar lifestyle of the MLB. And after he had been to the MLB twice and then having to go down and play in other countries, and he's finally made it back and become the closer, I definitely see what you're saying about, that could reduce his confidence. But I think from my standpoint, where I just see his skill set, is that because he doesn't throw that hard, as they like to say, he has a bit of a rubber arm. And I feel like he could just be more useful as more of a long reliever, kind of a swingman type role, where Scott is kind of the guy who has that firepower. But, Scott, as we've been saying, is still young, and we need to be patient. So maybe the closer role can scare him a little bit, and Valdez can just take it for now and handle the, mental anguish of blowing a save.
Yep, I totally understand. Totally agree. If I had to mention one more thing, Mike, I would probably say, I'm really liking Trey Mancini right now, and I would just going to keep my high hopes on him. You there, Mike? Ladies and gentlemen, Mike's internet cut out quickly. Just give us a brief moment for a technical difficulty. Thank you. So continue the show. So to continue, I guess I'll go like this way so I can see the camera. The O's looked pretty good today, considering all the facts that they had. Hopefully they can just, like I've been saying the whole show, build on this, and you think of this as something to learn and something to build on. Obviously they're 1-4 in their last 5. The Red Sox are now won their last 5 games. So there's a lot to improve on for both sides. Seeing the Red Sox winning their last 5, starting off 0-3 against those, obviously getting swept the first series. And then seeing those struggle their last 5 games, people can say, oh, this is a sign. Well, the O's expected to lose, not do too well. So you just got to put in a factor of, that everything is going to be okay. And it's still really early on. It's only 8 games in. We got plenty more to go. And just to keep that high hope that everything's going to be okay. And like Gary Thorne said after the end of 2019, patience, patience, patience. And everything's going to be, we just got to be patient with this team. They're young and everything else. I know it can be frustrating working with a lot of, with a very young team in terms of trusting them and, building on them, seeing their confidence levels. Mountcastle's been playing pretty good right now. Obviously, Rio Ruiz playing really good defensively. And then Stewart coming back today from the injury list. Just seeing all those improvements coming on the team, they can be really they can be a factor later on the season. And hopefully that the Orioles can, next couple games, hopefully tomorrow they can at least get a win and not get swept by the Red Sox after we swept them the first series. So that would be huge. But other than that, that's really what we can talk about. And as always, thank you very much for tuning into Birdland tonight, and tune in tomorrow for the post-game show with Birdland tonight. I believe I do not know off the top of my head who's going to be filling in tomorrow for that. But as always, it's been great chatting with everyone. And thank you all for coming into Birdland tonight. And looks like we got Mike back. It looks like he finally joined back. Mike, I'm just finishing up the I'll just telling everyone, how building on patience with the team and just being patient with the young guys.
Yeah, sorry, my button was going a little crazy. It was just blinking all over the place, but we're back in business. And yeah, that's definitely going along with the theme that we've been taking on this whole show. I don't know what just happened there, but yeah, so the internet messed up a little bit there, but yeah. So what did you think of what did you think of Futko's performance? I think he's been really great this whole season.
I think he did pretty good. I liked how he did today. I wasn't a fan of LeBlanc though. I know I'm shifting gears. LeBlanc wasn't he didn't look too good at the end, but I mean, Plutko-Key's got a lot of talent, and it's just, I think it's just still new teams. They're just trying to get in, but I don't know. I guess I was like at the near that time when he was in there, I wasn't paying too much attention, so I'm not really the best to interact with this. But I don't know. Like, what did you really think? Because I didn't want to give off I guess I don't know. I'm thinking for. Yeah. So what did you think of him? How did you think Plutko did today?
Yeah, no, I thought he looked great. He was definitely mixing up his speeds really well. And yeah, I just think the whole season he's looked good. And, as I was saying about what Valdez can be as a swingman, I really think he's fulfilled that role for us so far. And, his ERA shows, I think it's still 0.00 right now. And yeah, he's definitely helped us a lot. And, he could have been really one of the key pieces to our win today. That scoreless inning that he put in the 7th inning, really could have led to a very memorable win. But yeah, I still think that, LeBlanc has a lot of room to improve on the season so far, but he has been rather consistent in his Orioles career. And he had a great spring. So I think, let's just be a little patient, as we've been saying, and I think he'll have time to turn it around.
Yeah, let's just hope that tomorrow they don't get swept. And obviously they already lost the series, but, let's just hope we don't lose 2 series back-to-back with the Yankees and the Red Sox. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a great place to leave it off. Jorge Lopez will be going against the Red Sox tomorrow at 1:05 p.m. And yeah, I mean, I'm excited for that game. I'm still excited for the season, no matter what happens, to see how everyone develops. And yeah, just to have fans back. It's just a great experience watching the games. It just makes everything so much more meaningful as compared to last year. But yeah, do you want to talk about your new podcast show really quick?
Yes, thank you. So I am starting a podcast called Sports Talk with Joe Chambers, and what I'm doing is interviewing a bunch of people in the sports community. Hopefully I'll have some of the guys on from Birdland tonight. But I've worked in Division I basketball. I worked with a small school called Mount St. Mary's University, and I've worked with a lot of college coaches. So not only am I going to talk about basketball, I want to talk about baseball and hopefully football and maybe even hockey, maybe golf. Who knows? Whatever I come across. I'm just going to be reaching out to people, see if they want to join. And one of the things I want to talk about is understanding how COVID's changed the season, but what's been the changes that we don't hear in the news, the stuff that like the really technical stuff, the advanced stuff that we don't know about, and just learning about that through interviews. And I'll be having my first interview tomorrow, and the podcast will be up on Monday with a buddy of mine who I went to high school with, who was the equipment manager for the University of Maryland Terrapins football team.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, that's definitely a very interesting role. And learning about all those technical aspects is, really, really great and interesting. And yeah, definitely follow It's Joe Chambers on Twitter. And yeah, just for me, all I have to plug is follow me at _Michael Vetter on Twitter. Just tweeting about the Orioles and, obviously love all those sports that you were talking about too. Just tweeting about the DMV. And I have a couple blog posts on Utah Street Report about, a couple previewing the season, but then also one reflecting on the 2010s and who was really the greatest Oriole of that period. And yeah, thanks for coming on the show today, Joe.
Absolutely. And you can also follow me on Birds Watcher on Fansite. I write about the Orioles there too. Try to get about a post a week, maybe even more. Check out my latest post about John Means' opening day starting performance. I wrote a little article about how he did and what my opinions were of his start.
Great. Yeah, I definitely want to check that out too. And yeah, definitely follow at Birdland Sports on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. Definitely give some follows, subscribes, likes, whatever is appropriate for those platforms. And you can always check us out on birdlandtonight.com. And as always, a lot of people will be listening to this via podcast, and you can check us out on all the podcast sites like Spotify, Apple Music, etc. And yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Keep up with us throughout the season, and go O's. Thanks,
yes,
Joe.
Absolutely. No problem, Mike. Thank you very much.
All right, have a good one.
You too.